All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another one here. I'm riding solo tonight, but we have a guest. So, Ricky Roschival, did I say that right?
Yep, that's
Good
correct.
deal. I appreciate you driving up this way, or down this way, rather.
I'd love to do it, man.
Well, I'm excited to get to talk to you. I feel like we know each other, but this is going to be cool because we really don't. We've talked for a couple years, via Instagram and through text, but you had a pretty special spring this year, which we'll get to.
Okay.
But before we do, if you want to give a little bit of backstory, just who you are, where you're from, share as much as you want to, kind of what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm from Brunswick, Ohio, which is an hour away from here. It's in Medina County. And I actually just became a pastor of a church that we started in Medina. It's called Revive. We also have a real estate team, my wife and I. It's mostly my wife. I'm just her help.
Gotcha.
And but, dude, I love the outdoors. And that was one thing that I really appreciate about what you guys do is I love watching people that are honest and have integrity and they live by like what they're always doing. And so watching you guys just trap and just all of the things that you stand on was always just, I always thought that was awesome. And then I was just, directed people towards your content, and I appreciate that there's honesty in the industry. And there are some things that you guys talk about that I'm like, you know what? I don't really know if I can dig that, but I appreciate it. And it's just the outdoor world should just be like the ministry stuff that we should all be able to have conversations about things. We might not agree on all things, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, we're still friends. We're still pursuing the same thing. We're still looking for the same benefits, the same outcomes, right? And that should be in anything in life that we do. But people are messy and they make it harder than it needs to be. But yeah, so I've hunted for a really long time. I didn't have anybody in my family that got me into hunting. So I started when I was about 14, going out with, and I met a buddy and then we became best friends and I would just hunt with him and his grandpa and stuff. And then when I got a little older, I started taking it more serious. And since I didn't have anyone to hunt with, when you're by yourself, you learn a lot, right? And so when I was about in my 20s, about 21, 22, I kind of fell into the world and I got into drugs, okay? I became a drug dealer.
No kidding.
Really? And I was living worldly, but I had a very wonderful grandma who taught me about Jesus my whole life. And even though I knew those things, I still decided to go be in the world because I thought those were all the important things in life. Like growing up, I didn't have a very good childhood, like that a normal kid would have, right? Parents together, loving household. My mom did a great job, but my dad was just out of the picture. My dad taught me how to fish. It's about the only thing he taught me how to do. So I always had like a love for being outdoors, and that was, I guess that was like a safe space for me, right? And so when I was in my 20s, I got into doing a lot of those worldly things, away from the world, away from my family and stuff, and I gave up hunting for a while. And when I cleaned my life up, I got back to it. And that was like my roots, and there's just something about being outdoors that is healing. And it wasn't until I fully gave my life to pursuing Jesus that I realized how much the outdoors helped save me, right? I think a lot of the world, if they don't know Jesus, they take this gift that's given to us granted. People take rain for granted. They take the sun for granted. They take these animals that we pursue. They take every of these things for granted. But these were gifts given to us by our Heavenly Father, And when I realized these things, my life changed, And even when I quit doing drugs and all that stuff, if you would have told me I was gonna be a pastor, I would have been like, "There's no way, dude." That's not who I am. And I got my real estate license, and we had we did a blueberry farm, and real estate was awesome, and it's still awesome. It provides for us. But for me personally, there was something that I was still always searching for, and again, when you're in the world of drug dealing and all that stuff, money is just, dude, I had a lot, and I lost a lot. And what I thought was important was never important, It was like power and girls and all that stuff, right? living worldly. And so real estate's a good career for my wife and I. It provides for us to do a lot of things, but I was still missing something. And we got really involved into a church, and it was like when I would do stuff in like just, when I'd get up on stage and talk about my testimony or whatever it was, that's when I felt like full, right? And like obviously you could see these antlers here, but I spent a lot of time in the outdoors alone. And when I was out there shed hunting one day, and I'll never forget this, I was out there for like 10 hours, and I was just like beat, up and down hills, just, and like in those days, those hikes, you're like burning 4,000, 5,000 calories, And I just remember like talking to like Jesus, like I'm just like pouring my heart out to him on these hikes. And I just remember saying like, Lord, like whatever I've done in my life, like I keep searching for something that's not fulfilling. And I have realized that when I'm in your presence, like when I'm doing this stuff in ministry, like I feel this calling, whatever it is, like that's when I feel whole. And I said, I'm done fighting, like I'm done wrestling with you. Like I just want to pursue you and what you have for my life. And this is what I want to do. And if it's becoming a pastor or a youth leader or whatever it is, like if you open that door for me, Lord, I'm not going to shut it. So if I have to give up my hunting time, which I loved, like I would hunt a lot.
Sure.
Right? Whether it was deer hunting, ducks and geese, turkey hunting, shed hunting, morels, arrowheads, whatever it was, like I was constantly outdoors. But I just said to him out loud, like I spoke it out loud. Like, so if someone was watching me, they'd be like, this dude's nuts. Like, right? But I just said to him, like, Lord, like if I have to forego some of that time for something that you're calling me to do, I'm okay with it. Like I realize like that's my calling, and not everyone has that calling, right? Because the Lord can use you with where you're at. It doesn't matter if you're a realtor, a teacher, a doctor, a firefighter, whatever it is. He can use you to minister to the people that you're around, that I will never be able to minister to, that you'll never, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that's a humbling thing. We have to humble ourselves before the Lord, right? And when I remember, I'll never forget it. After that day, it was like, he started doing things in my life, right? And sometimes they were things I was like, man, like I'm not going to be able to hunt in the rut. But I was like, I remember what I said, Or if we were into a worship thing, like, man, I know that deer's on my camera. But no, I'm going to go and worship my Lord. I'm going to go and worship the Father. I'm going to go and worship my Savior. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't able to hunt as much as I wanted to this past year. But the Lord's blessed me in so many ways. You know what I'm saying? And there's so much other things that go into just that short amount of things that we're talking about, right? But it was that, and because like my heart has changed on my passions, right? Because my passion first was like, I need to get a big buck. I need to shoot a big tom. I need to shoot all these banded birds. But now it's, Lord, what do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? And then it's this other time I have, I'm going to be in your creation. I'm still going to worship you. I'm still going to thank you for these things. And if you bless me with whatever I get that day, I'm okay with it.
That's such a refreshing and cool perspective. It reminds me, 2 or 3 months ago, we were texting. Yeah. I was going out west with my dad on a turkey hunt. I'd never been on a hunt, just me and him before. He had never been on a hunt out of state, maybe once before. It was both of our first times chasing Miriam's turkeys, and we were talking, and you texted me. I was expressing some of my concerns, and you texted me and said, God always provides. And it's so interesting how things come into your life, or you read or see certain things at the right time. Mm-hmm. And I think at face value, when you said that, some people might interpret that as in like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'll be successful. God's going to provide. But when you said that to me, it really struck a chord, because I realized throughout that entire trip, and it stayed at the forefront of my brain since you said that to me, that he provides in ways that don't necessarily, mean success.
Correct.
Or accomplishments.
Correct.
While we were out there, we had a ton of different challenges, but I kept finding myself circling back to that, because I was like, you know what? He knows what I need right now. He knows what we need right now. whatever that is, I'm gonna let him give it to me. Yep. And I found myself on mountaintops, looking out at the site and just being like, you know what, God's providing this right now. It's not a filled turkey tag, but for whatever reason, I need this right now. My dad and I are sharing this incredible 100%. Moment together, and he's in control, and I just have to turn it over to him. And I still, like, you really changed my thinking when you said it was 3 simple words or 4 simple words, but I try to think about that in all aspects of life now. I wanted to ask you though, when I reflect back on myself as a younger, 20 or late teens individual, I put hunting before everything, kind of like you were talking about. I mean, I'm sure I missed very important family gatherings and family time and responsibilities, and probably missed out on maybe career opportunities, what have you, because it came above everything. So for someone that's maybe in their late teens, early 20s, that's maybe struggling to find God or their pursuit of him, what advice would you give? Or is that something you think that you almost need to go through to get to that point?
Yeah. So, some people get it easier than others. Like me, if somebody would have told me that, I'd been like, yeah, I don't care what you say, and you go through things, and when you go through those things, you're shaped and you're formed, right? And we all have these choices and decisions that we make. And some people are pursuing something and they don't even know what they're pursuing, right? And like when you have that passion, like what is the stem of that passion? Like, are you trying to be social media famous? Because when I was growing up and hunting, and I was like, it was like I need to shoot a big buck, like, to impress my friends, right? Because I didn't really understand like a big buck. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, like it wasn't like, you don't see all this like media and stuff like it is today, where it's like you post something on social media and it's like boom, 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 right? There was none of that when I was like 19. Right. Like I think Facebook was just starting when I went to my first year of college. So it's like, so what is that path? Like, what are you truly like pursuing out of that? It's like, are you just pursuing this passion of yours to impress other people, or like, do you truly have a heart for it, right? And so you kind of have to like look at yourself in the mirror and say like, you're going to get burned out if you're just chasing it for people to like you, or for like someone to like, click on your post or share your post or whatever it is, like, because at the end of the day, if you shoot a monster buck, are you able to sustain that? Because if you can't, then all of that stuff that you think's important, you're going to get a humbling lesson when the next year you don't shoot a big buck and nobody's talking about you. You know what I'm saying? And so that is something I would encourage people to do. Like, and I don't know everyone's journey. Like, I can only speak on my own accord, I just know that it's almost like there's an emptiness to it, right? And for me, again, when I got into the things I was getting into, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons, right? But when my life changed and I changed, I look at like my passions as a gift that was given to me now, that I can go out with someone now and spend time with them and share Jesus with them, or just fellowship with them. They might not even be Christians, but I'm able to be a different light in their world compared to the people that they're used to spend their time with. And that's what I use hunting and fishing in the outdoors for now. Like, I'm not so driven now that like I gotta go shed hunting and I need to find 100 sheds this year because I'm gonna post them all on social media and I'm gonna be the shed hunter of North America. No, I don't care, dude. You look at my Instagram now, I don't post anything.
Well, that's funny you bring that up, because I did look at your Instagram at one time and I noticed that, and I see more and more people typically as they get older kind of get away from that. And I think it's like a natural, maybe not natural, but a progression where you're right. I don't know if it's ego or whatever that gets in the way when you're younger, or pride. And then as you get older, you realize like, what is all that is for what? For myself? Correct. Like, who cares?
And the thing is, like, it's awesome looking at a lot of these like influencers in the industry and all these things, but like, and when you're younger, you like look at those people and you're like, this is the guy I want to be like, right? He's posting sheds every day, shooting all these animals and stuff. But what you should really question is, how is that guy in real life? Go and meet that guy like in public with no cameras on, and let me know the person that he or she is. What if they like off the camera, right? Because who are you trying to be like? Are you trying to be like the person that's off the camera, or you're trying to be like the person that's on the camera for all this?
Right.
You know? And so it's so easy to disguise all that stuff over a camera and pictures and stuff like. And dude, when I first started on social media, I was like, oh man, this is like, that's all I was wanting it for, was like, so I could get all these likes and all this attention. Like, but you get to a point, you know, when your passions are different, you know, because that wasn't really a passion. That was just like a fluke, I guess, you know. And it was like, and even when I was hunting stuff, it was like, I need to shoot you know, I was like you said, you get so mindset on like, I need to shoot a monster buck because like this is what's cool, right? I need to shoot a double bearded turkey because this is what's cool, or like whatever it is. I need to shoot all these banded birds because this is what's cool. No, it doesn't. You know what's cool is that you get to be in the presence of of the God. If you're a Christian, like not everyone's a Christian, so I speak differently. But you're in his creation. You're in his creation, and you get to spend that alone time with him or with your friends, because that's where the memories are. You know, you sit in a duck blind for 10 hours with somebody, you get to know a lot about those people.
Yep.
And even if you don't shoot things, it's okay, because you guys just had better conversation in that 10 hours and in that day with a friend that you care about than you're ever going to have with someone on social media.
Yep. And if you have that perspective, I've found it's so much more enjoyable. There's like virtually no stress anymore, because if you you know, end up harvesting a turkey or a deer, whatever you sought out to get, great, you know. But if you don't, your initial, I guess, goal was just to enjoy being out there. 100%. I'm healthy enough to be doing this. I have friends that do it as well that I get to share with, a dad that's still here that I can enjoy this with. So if you don't get one, well, you still had all of those things. 100%. It's such a stress-free way to do it.
And you can learn every time you're out there. You know, like when you go and when you have that mindset of, hey, it's a blessing for me to be able to hunt. It is a blessing. You go out there and you learn something different about those animals. We are hunting a wild animal, right? It's not a pen-raised animal. Well, some places are, but we are hunting wild, free-range animals. Anything can happen, and you learn from something. You see something, you're like, I never noticed that before because my mindset was so focused on doing this. And then it's the times like, I've missed a lot of deer. I don't care what people say. Like, it happens. But before I would just be so sickened and beat up over it. Now I'm just like, well, that sucks. You know, like, what did it, you know, and you try to figure it out. Instead of beating yourself up on it, mistakes happen.
Yep.
Things happen. You know, you can't control a neighbor riding around in a four-wheeler. You can't control Mother Nature. You can't control anything that's outside of your own self, right? You can't, even if a weapon fails, you can't control that sometimes.
Right.
It's not your fault, you know? But there are and here's the thing, how many times do we see that on video?
Rarely.
And that's where when you have this younger mindset, it's like, these guys are doing all this stuff, but it's like, what do you see that's not in the film?
It's a trap.
And that's what it is. And it's like, we use this product and all this stuff, and it's like, no, use what works for you. Use what you can afford. Use what makes the hunting experience better for you. It doesn't matter if it's cool, if it's not cool, if it's the hip camo, if it's not, it doesn't matter. What makes the hunting experience better for you? And that's it. And that's a humbling thing to accept, right? And it is, a lot of younger people are just so driven by this success that's very hard to attain. It's just like playing in the MLB or the NFL. It's very hard to do it. And what your mindset is I'm going to film these hunts and I'm going to film all this stuff because I enjoy doing it. And let them and keep doing it. And that in itself would be rewarding. We say, hey, it's not about anybody else. It's because we enjoy filming. We enjoy taking photography. We enjoy this stuff, right?
Yep.
And then when you put the Lord in the middle of all that, watch it grow, right? But for me, my success came when I put the Lord in front of everything I did. Every single hunt I go on, in my car ride there, doesn't matter if it's a 10-minute car ride or an hour, I'm listening to worship music and I'm just praying. As soon as I wake up, I get my truck. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you that I get to spend time in your creation that you have given me. And thank you for Jesus, man. Thank you. Like, and whatever comes out of today's hunt, whatever you need me to talk to my friends about or whatever it is, just lay it on my heart. Like, I'm open. You know, and even if I'm not successful today, show me something that's in your creation. Teach me something about you. And that's it.
That's so refreshing to hear. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody, but you wake up, you hop in the truck to go do this, you take it all for granted. You know, you go, it's all for granted. I can think of a hunt 3-4 years ago I had with my dad here, and had a giant buck that we were targeting right underneath of us. I moved a little bit, spooked him, he ran off, and I was like a different person. I mean, I was so upset and angry, and I remember, just getting out of the stand before dark and like leaving my poor dad like in the dust because I was just running to the truck, just like so mad at what just happened. And after that happened, I kind of reflected on it as I aged a little bit and thought, man, how disgusting was that behavior? That's a wild animal that won fair and square, based off of the senses that the good Lord gave him. I screwed up, whatever you want to call it. It was a great learning opportunity, and instead of just soaking it in and being thankful for being out there and getting to share that hunt with my dad, I ruined it because I was just so mad that I didn't get to fill my tag. And at the end of the day, we're killing an animal. Like, it shouldn't be that hardcore, that like tough of a mindset of like, oh man, I didn't get it. Like, they have a life, like we have a life.
Correct.
Like he made it. Let's be thankful he gets to live another day. Correct. And maybe you can pursue him on a different day. Like, it's just, I don't know, the older I get, the more I appreciate having that perspective, because I've lived through the era where it's just all about the kill, and it's kind of gross when you look at it.
100%. And you always hear people say, well, you can't eat the antlers, and for me, for where I'm at today, like I would love to shoot a trophy buck, and everyone's perception of trophy is different, right? And for me, it's something that I can mount, and it's not like I'm a trophy hunter. I've hunted long enough that if I don't shoot a buck one year, I'm okay with it. I hunted my hardest, I did my best, and I allowed other deer to pass that the neighbor probably shot that I'm okay with it. And even when I take people hunting today I'm sharing the experience, like, that are getting into hunting. Like, I took my cousin for the first time hunting, like, and I got him into goose hunting first, so I'm like, you got to go deer hunting, because he loves eating everything. I'm so like, John, like, you got to do this, So I'm out, it's opening day gun season. And he got a 350 Legend, and we sighted it and everything. And so, like, and he's like my best friend and my brother, right? So, like, it just, I already shot my big buck that year, so I'm like, it's like, this is such like it's just awesome feeling to share that with somebody who I don't really get that rush anymore. Like, I still get like the deer fever or whatever they call it, like whatever. But like, to see like that amount of excitement to see on someone's face who's newly doing this is like, I won't experience that. And so I get to experience that. I'm like, this is great. So he's got little kids, and his time's very minimal. Like, he doesn't have a lot of time to hunt. And so he's like, hey, can I shoot like whatever? I'm like, dude, you shoot whatever you're going to be happy with, right? If it's a whatever size buck, like, I don't care, man. You shoot a doe, whatever you want to shoot. Like, just as meat for your family. Enjoy this time that we have together, and shoot what you're happy with. So I knew the spot that we were at, and so there's like this little 6-point coming in, and I'm like, Josh, like, there's a deer coming, and he's like, all right, like, he's like, can I shoot it? I'm like, all right, it's a small 6-point. I'm like, if you shoot that deer, I'm like, look at its antlers. He's like, hey, I'm like, are you going to be happy with this? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, dude, he's like, this is awesome. He's like, thank God for this, And I'm like, then go ahead, shoot it, man. And that was his first buck.
Awesome.
And again, if he was so worried about the social media stuff and all that other stuff, he would have missed out on an opportunity, and I call it of a lifetime, to experience the joy that should come from hunting.
Yeah, well, I bet there's a fair amount of people that are stripped of that joy today because of sharing it to social media. They probably had all the same excitement when it happened, and then they turned to Facebook or wherever else and shame, needed another year, why'd you shoot that? And
it's like, you know what, if you're doing it legally, right, nobody knows what time you have to hunt. No one knows, like, what that means doing for your family. Nobody knows all that stuff. Right? He doesn't, and here's the thing, is by himself, he doesn't have anywhere to hunt, right? He's not on, it's private property. It was one time that he got to deer hunt that year. and he was able to harvest a deer for himself instead of me having to give him meat or like what, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I bet so many people that hunt all the time can experience the same joy he had from just that, right? And it's sad, because every kid should experience that without having this like, oh, my friend in school shot a bigger buck. Who cares? Yep. They've learned that from somewhere because the industry has created that persona or whatever you want to call it, and that's sad, and dude, I've experienced it. Like I've went through that stuff where when I first got into duck and goose hunting, like I wanted to shoot bands because that's what people are, you know what I'm saying? And who knows how many hunts that I just didn't get to experience with my friends for the joy, just because I was so hungry to shoot bands, but now it's like we just go out and we hunt, and if we shoot them, we shoot them. If we don't, we don't, and yeah, we would love to shoot them, but it brought the joy back. But a lot of that comes from the Lord, man. Everything goes back to him. The way that I live my life, the way that I share my time with my family and my friends, the way that I think about everything, it all goes back to the Lord and what he's done in my life. He has shown me what true joy is. He has shown me patience and kindness and love and all those things. And when you have all that, you look at everything else like, yeah, this is all right.
Yeah.
If we go out and we don't see no deer, it's all right. We have tomorrow.
When you give it all over to him, there's no reason to stress or to be anxious because he's got it.
And that's the thing is in the Bible, it tells us like, don't be worried about tomorrow because tomorrow has its own problems, And like when I said that, like, God provides. God knows our hearts, and that's why prayer is so important. Like, yeah, he already knows our hearts and stuff, but it's more powerful when we go into prayer because we're humbling ourselves before our Father, right? And we're saying, look, Lord, like, this stuff is got me bothered. This is bothering me and all this stuff. And just give me a sense of peace. Just remind me that it's going to be okay. And I promise you it's going to be better. And if people who are watching this or listening to this, like if you don't know Jesus, right, because you've had a bad experience at church or whatever it is, I'm going to just be the first one to tell you this. Your relationship with Jesus, through Jesus, and all that stuff, it has nothing to do with the church building. It's a personal relationship with your Savior. That is it. And when you remove the worldly thoughts and the things that have happened to you in the church and all that stuff and the stigma of what people say you can and can't do, when you remove it and you pursue him for yourself, by yourself, your life will be different. He'll bring you into a church, right, that you have fellowship and family and all those things that come from being in a healthy church. But there should be nothing that keeps you away from that. Nothing. There's a lot of crappy churches out there, and there's a lot of, and it's just like anything else in the world. There's people are messy, but when you come to having a relationship with Jesus, he fixes all of that stuff in you. When you used to be like, I need to do your passions change. Like before I wouldn't take people to my hunting spots because I'm like, they're not shooting my big buck, they're not shooting my turkeys. Now I just want to be with them and experience that fellowship. That's it.
That's so cool.
He removes he just removes it from you. And it doesn't happen all overnight, man. It took me a long time. Like, I got sober when I was 28. I cleaned myself up from drugs and drug dealing and all that stuff. It still took me years to get to where I did 3.5 years of a Bible college to get to like, this is how I want to live and pursue my life. Like, it took a while. It's a journey. It's not just, some people are instantaneously changed, and that's a miracle. But it's okay if it takes you a while. It's okay. And there's a lot of people that are out there that want to come alongside you, that are good Christian men and women. That's it.
It's comforting, I think, for me, and I would hope some of our listeners too, to hear you say that it's a journey, because I think this world has made a lot of people want that instant gratification or instant results because of everything at our fingertips.
That's it. That's what it is.
And people lose patience, or they see, they're turned off from the church because of something they saw online, because we have just so much stuff being slammed in our face. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of young men and women out there that get confused and they don't know which way to go or where to turn. So I appreciate you sharing all that with our listeners. Something that kind of popped in my head when I was listening to you talk there about kind of how you've progressed about, and I was the same way, like, oh, this is my property. Like, I don't want, I can't take people. What if they shoot that deer or whatever? And I've gotten away from that. And I talked to a gentleman this past weekend, actually, it's kind of funny. Easton and I were we were in Southern Ohio by his hunting property. And we were driving, and he was like, I want to show you this house. There's a giant deer rack on this guy's roof. And he's like, I don't know if it's real or if it's like a replica or what, but this thing's huge. I want to drive you past it and show you. So we drove past it and see this giant rack up on the roof. And I happened to look, and I'm kind of one of those people that I'll go talk to anybody. Yeah. And I look and I see a guy like standing around back. So I'm like, pull off the road. I want to go talk to him, and we'll see what the story is. So he pulls off the road. I get out of the truck, and I kind of wave this guy down. He comes up, and one of the nicest older gentlemen I've ever talked to. Turns out that this rack he had made like 30 years ago, and he wanted to see if it could like withstand the damage from the sun and the elements. And here we are like 30 years later, and it still looks like pristine. But anyway, we get to talking, and we never even brought up hunting, but he kind of starts talking about hunting, and he mentioned that like now he doesn't even really hunt. Like he just loves being out there and seeing the deer, and isn't necessarily even like all about the killing aspect. Like he just wants to be out there immersed in it and watching these deer. And I've heard other people share that. And so when I was listening to you talk there and then thinking about kind of my progression, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, one day yourself or myself and many others get to that point where it's like, I just like being out there. Or like you said, I just want to go with my kid or my grandkid or my nephew and see them have their first or experience something that you got to experience. There's so much joy in that. What do you think it is that some people get to that point, and some people, I know other folks that are like their whole life have just been so fast tracked to like kill, me. What is that, you think?
I think it's life and experience. And here's the thing is like, things happen in life that make you think differently. Whether it's a traumatic event, whether it's coming to have a relationship with Jesus, like whatever it is, stuff happens in people's lives. And in those times, you have two choices. Continue being the person you are, or slow down and realize all the stuff that you've taken for granted, you shouldn't have. Because life doesn't last forever. It can end tomorrow for me. When I leave here, it could end for me, right? And so I think some people realize, like, I've missed out on a lot that I'd taken for granted. And like you just said, dude, I'll take, like, you know, we'll go out like duck hunting or goose hunting, and we'll sit in a cornfield, and sometimes like I don't even pull my gun up to shoot. Like I let other people shoot. Like I don't care. I've shot so many geese, I don't care. It's just the fun of being out there. And the thing is like I'll hunt with my best buddy like on a Saturday or whatever. Like Sundays I can't anymore because I'm preaching. But you know, because I know he works Monday through Friday. I can hunt Monday. I can hunt any day I want except Sunday mornings. And I just like say like, Lord, this is a blessing that I have the ability to hunt Monday morning or Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. So I can go hunting by myself and shoot some birds if I want. It's okay. You know, so like it's just, I think it's people go through things in life that form them or shape them, and they have choices to make. Like we have free will. Like you can continue like living on the fast pace straight out of here, or you could just kind of rewind it back and say like, this is what matters. These are the moments that matters. Like this is where I'm at peace, or this is what brings me joy. When I do all this other stuff, it's chaos and stress and anxiety and all that stuff, right? And some people, they live their whole lives like that. You know, who knows what happens? We don't know, you know? For me, like I live my life and all that stuff, and I just realized that this is the joy of life right here. And it's like, you know, it's okay if I don't shoot my geese today, or it's okay if I don't shoot a band, or, you know, like, and that was why I never wanted to go goose hunting with like, you know, like 4 or 5 other guys. It would be just me and my best friend, because I'm like, if someone shoots a band, it's gonna be me. And I was telling like, I don't care, dude. I was with you guys when you shot it. Like, I don't care. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you know, it's the same thing with deer hunting. It's like I never wanted someone to be hunting on the same woods as I was hunting on. Like, because I'm like, if they're sitting at my other feeder, like, and I feed, I don't know. Like, I know you guys aren't, but like for me, I do it, and I'm like, but they're not shooting that bit. Like, but now I'm just like, dude, kill it, you know. And the same thing is like, I have a very close friend of mine. He has like 66 acres, and by where I live, 66 acres is a lot of land. Like, because up in Medina County, like 66 acres where we live, that's a lot of money.
It's probably in a lot of places like 10 parcels, right? a 66 acre block is chunked up.
Yeah, so like, and it's 7 minutes. So like, I live in the city of Brunswick, and it's 7 minutes, and it's like in a city of in a town of Hinckley. So I can hunt there, right? That's where I shot my my buck this year, which I thought was really nice. Some people be like, "Yeah, small, whatever." I don't care what you guys say, but like, I was thanking the Lord right away. You know,
that's what
like,
it's all
Lord,
about.
thank you. Like, I'm telling you, it was crazy. But I turkey, like last year, I literally finished my turkey season in 20 minutes there. Like, it's 7 minutes from my house. My best friend, you know, and he has no time. He likes to hunt, but he has no time. And it's the same thing. I was like, you know, Z, I got to get you out there to get a turkey. And then, like, I see one big turkey. I'm like, well, let me go hunting first. You know, but that's all, even though it's my friend's property, but it's all changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm like, dude, let's get out there and get that thing. Like, dude, like, you need to kill it. You need to mount that one. It's your first turkey, you know? But his time is so limited. You know what I'm saying? And he's sending me, like, he's got, like, these big hay fields. And he's sending me pictures of like a massive, I mean, dude, the Tom, like, he's got a picture of this Tom strutting, and you can literally see the beard just on the ground, just a big boy. His wife sends me a video, and the turkey's pecking at their back door. I'm like, this thing is like shooting fish in a barrel, you know?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's like, before I would have been over there killing that bird, but I'm like, no, I'm not even hunting there. Like, dude, you need to kill that bird. You know, like, let's get you that bird. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to get out this year. But
Gotcha.
But dude, his property is crazy because I run corn over there from August all the way till February. I have 2 trail cameras over there, and I never get turkeys. Never, ever, ever have I seen a turkey on 2 trail cameras for the last 4 or 5 years. Until the spring comes, then they're at his house. It is the most bananas thing ever, and it's always big toms. You know, like, there'd be like smaller toms, you know, like, or some jakes, but they're always there every single spring at his property. It is the wildest thing.
I'd rather get them than lose them, you know?
And so, like, you know, in like watching you guys trap and stuff, and I have to find time to do that because I got, dude, some of my cameras, like, there's so many raccoons over there. And again, we are so close to like the city limits or stuff, so there's an abundance of predators there, you know? And so it's just for me to really find time to like run a trap line with some dog proofs or you know, and get on some of that stuff. And it's just like, I have to do it, you know?
It's tough. You're right. I mean, every single day, checking it every morning, like you said, life's busy, life happens. It's hard to do that. I'm on the fence about how much that actually helps with the turkey population. And I only say that just because I do a lot of trapping, and I haven't seen, you know, you'll hear guys like down south that are trapped really hard talk about like, oh my gosh, I was talking to a guy today. He said before he started trapping, he would say there's like an average of like 2 to 4 poults per hen, and now he said like 6 to 12, and like can like noticeably see a difference. I haven't seen that yet. Obviously, it can't hurt. So no, I'm a huge advocate of trapping any chance you get. I wish our trapping season like went at least up until like March, April, just because you can kind of give them that reprieve during their breeding nesting period. But
dude, I used to trap a lot, like in my like after I graduated, like I ran some trap lines because like I worked landscaping stuff, so like in the winters I was just doing whatever. And you know, I think there's something to be like, I really wish that fur prices were like, you know, stabilized, so where people had a passion for trapping. And you know, well, I don't know how many years ago, but how I dropped it to a one bird state, like, you know, and I'm okay with that. And you know, this conversation is going all over the place, but I'm okay with that. But why can't we look at some other things? Like, why are you letting people shoot hens in the fall, right? Or like, again, where I'm at today, if I take a kid hunting, I'll tell you what, if I take anyone hunting for the first time, he's never killed a turkey, I'll tell him, if you want to shoot a jake, you're more than welcome to. But if you've already killed turkeys, I'm not letting you shoot a jake if I take you hunting. That's my rule. That's my rule. If you're coming to my spots, you know. But if it's like, you know, like my cousin, he's never shot a turkey. Like, if you have joy in shooting your first turkey, and you know that it's a 1-year-old bird, and you're okay with that, I'm okay with allowing you to do that. You know what I'm saying? I
couldn't agree more. It's just like shooting the 6-point.
Correct.
They need that experience.
Correct. Right. And again, it's like if we're lucky enough to have a big tom come in, but I almost don't want them to think that that's going to happen every single time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But now if I take people and they're hunters and they're turkey hunters, you're not shooting no Jake with me, bro.
Yep.
You know, you're not shooting a bearded hen. I don't care what you've heard and what you read. Like, you're not shooting. If you can't tell the difference between a tom and a bearded hen, maybe you shouldn't be hunting.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, it's just my. It can be controversial, whatever you want to say. That's my personal belief.
Yep.
And if we have a population problem in Ohio, then why don't you just remove the fall turkey season? You know, like no hens in the fall. Like, I'm sorry, but like there's other things that could be helped and addressed. And I saw you guys post a picture of bobcat. You know, you don't think the bobcats are hitting the population of turkeys? Of course they are. Right? So you have ground nesting predators hammering turkeys. You have coyotes. You have air predators. The turkeys are just getting decimated from all aspects. Humans, right? Whatever else you saw. I've seen probably 20 on I-71 dead. So there's other options. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I would pay $300 to buy another tag in Ohio. Like, for a spring bird. Like, put it back into the conservation. Like, do some other stuff than just... Because in reality, how many people were truly shooting 2 birds a season?
Yeah, I read a statistic on that once. It was like 25% or less. It's not a lot.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, so again, I'm okay with it. But alter the fall season.
Yeah, there's so many different ways you could approach this in different angles and things you could alter and change. We spin our wheels on this constantly.
And I like, that's why when I see you guys post stuff, I always enjoy like hearing what you guys say and seeing your passion for it and seeing where your hearts are at. And I know you guys don't like crossbows. I'm gonna just tell you this right now. It's a funny story about missing a deer. And this is where I know the Lord changed me. So my friend, where I shot my white, then we'll get to the white turkey, but this is the same property I shot my white turkey on. And so my friend, I had these farms I could deer hunt, right? And there was an older guy there who also had permission to hunt the farms, okay? And basically, we were to hunt around each other, amongst each other. I'm okay with that, you know? There was just issues, right? And so I was having problems because the farms that this guy had owned, there was still standing corn all the way up until gun season. So I'm like, man, and one of the properties like that was really good. It was so hard to get to the woods because there's no paths around. There's no, like, you can't just easily access it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so my buddy who owns a bunch of properties is like, hey, go hunt the golf course. He's like, I got some nice deer on camera. He's like, and I'm done this year. I'm going to Florida. I'm like, awesome, you know? He's like, and I was like, I know where your stand's at. I never hunted out of one of his enclosed blinds, right? So the first day I get out there, it was the opening day, it was one of the days of the gun season, right? And I'm like, oh man, this is like perfect. I got my gun, you know, like this deer comes in. He's been coming in. Well, he didn't come in, right? So, but when I'm in that blind, the blinds he has. Because he like bought a company that built these blinds. So when he bought this company and all the stuff, he like had a bunch of these blinds. So they're, you know, free for him or whatever. Well, when you're sitting in there, it's like you're in a computer chair like this. Like there is no room. It is a gun or crossbow blind only.
Sure.
And I was so used to hunting with my compound bow, right? So I'm like, I have really no places to hunt. So, and I had a crossbow. I was like, well, I'm just going to use my crossbow, you know? Shot my crossbow a bunch, you know, whatever. Shot it a bunch. It was on. The night comes and this deer comes in. It was like perfect, right? And I shot and I was watching the deer. And I'm like, the deer's not falling over. Like, what's going on? And I watched him run off. And I'm like, huh. Well, it's like starting to like rain snow. And I'm like, this isn't good. So I'm finding blood, you know. Long story short, I searched like a whole day, could not find this deer, right? And I'm like, dude, what is going on? I go shoot my crossbow, shoots on, everything is shooting fine, okay? And that deer's showing up on camera. He shows back up on camera. My friend sends me the picture. I'm like, okay, that deer's alive. I'm like, did I not? Like, what happened? You know, like, was it me? Like, I'm like, what is going, like, what? It's like one of those things is like, what happened, right?
Can I guess?
What?
Did your limbs hit the?
No.
Too tight? Oh, I thought you were gonna say they hit the blind.
This is like crazy.
Okay.
This is like, well, this is wild. All right. So I go and shoot my bow and everything's shooting good, right? And I was shooting rage. I had rage crossbow broadheads, like, so I just was using them. Well, I went and shot at a target, and my friend had like a block target, and then we put another target behind it. Well, that crossbow I bought, like, just blew. It was blowing right through those targets, you know. And when I went and found my arrow, like, the broadhead weren't opening. Like, and it was going into the, like, blowing through 2 targets and going into the dirt, and it was, the broadheads were not opening. I'm like,
cow.
I was like, oh, that's probably what happened. You know, like, in my head, I'm like, this has got to be it, right? And so I go get different broadheads or whatever. I'm back out there hunting, right? And I'm telling you, like, I was, like, putting apples out for this deer. He was big, like, big. Well, here he comes in, right? And what's interesting about that blind is, like I said, there's no room in it, so you can't, like, adjust the windows. They're already pre-cut. Like, there's no, bow. The windows are the windows, and that is it. And everything is so loud in there. So, like, I had to put, like, a towel on there, like, and like, it's super quiet in the woods. So, like, any little creak you make, like, it's just like, it's like echoed, right? Well, the chair that he had in there was like, it was like kind of squeaky. And so, like, I found out, like, if I just brought it down a little bit, it wasn't as squeaky. And, I could still, his feeder was 25. Everything was perfect, right? So it's super cold out. And where that deer would come from, because I would know where he was coming from on my trail camera, he didn't come from there this particular night.
Of course.
He came right, literally, on, like, right next to the stand, like, right next to the ladder. And all I can see is his rack. Like, literally from the window, I'm like, oh, that's that deer. I was like, yeah, I'm excited. And it's so cold. And so he goes to the pile to where, because I lowered that chair, I could only see his rack through my crossbow scope. And I was like, oh, this is not good, dude. This is not good. Well, all of a sudden, here comes like 20 doves just descending onto the corn pile. And all the deer just get freaked out, and he just trots off like 20, like, I think it was like 33 yards. And I'm like, huh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Like, this couldn't be better. It's broadside. Put it right in, like, right to the lungs, dude. Like, I was like, everything was centered. My breath was right. I shot, and I see him, like, limp off, like, jump, and he goes off, and he's just standing there. And I'm like, dude, this is it. Like, my nerve, like, I was excited, and I just see him kind of walk off, right? Like, before he bolted off that last time. This time he was like, just like, whoa, like, So I wait like 30, 40 minutes. I get out, and there's just blood everywhere. I mean, dude, there's blood and just tons of blood. And I'm like, man, like, where'd he go? So I wait a little bit. I see that he goes over to the neighbors. I drive all the way out, go get permission. I go out, and I'm still on his blood. And I'm like, man, this is wild. So I sent my picture of the blood of my friend. He's like, it's dark blood. He's like, just give it a few hours. So I go back out at like 10 at night, right? And we wind up jumping him in some real thick stuff, and he was just like a zombie. I'm like, oh, it's so cold. That deer's gonna die for sure. Dude, the next day, I went to every single person's house that the deer's blood went to. So, like, the deer would go to this property line, I'd go to their house, go to their house. And I tracked this deer for miles, and he was just blood, just spewing blood. So 2 days later, I went back. I found a bed. There's no more blood. There was blood in the bed, gone. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? My friend's like, check that scope. I'm twisting the scope. I'm doing everything. I'm checking everything. The back, so there's, like, on the scope rings, those little nuts, the back bolt was loose, and it was causing the scope to jump. So when after I missed that deer the second time I was shooting it, I would shoot on, it would shoot off, shoot off. Shoot on, shoot off, shoot off, shoot off, shoot on. Dude, those arrows that I must have bought 25, 30 arrows. I don't even know how many arrows I bought. It was $300 worth of arrows because I kept on losing them. I'm like, I was getting so frustrated because I'm like, this is a $2,500 crossbow, and I'm having these issues with this?
Yeah.
And dude, it was just that little thing. And I twisted the scope thinking it was the rings. I never picked up and down on the scope.
Gotcha.
No, so was it my fault or user error? Maybe. I'll take ownership of it. But that, I never heard the scope bouncing around or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Like we talked about at the beginning, just stuff happens sometimes.
But out of all that, I could have beat myself up so badly about it. I felt bad for the deer. right? I'm like, man, that is unfortunate. Like, I should have checked my gear better. Like, and again, when you know Jesus and like you have that grace on the rest of your life, it's just like giving yourself grace sometimes. Like, stuff happens. It doesn't matter if you're using a compound bow or a crossbow. Like, it's unfortunate, right? And that year I wasn't, but guess what? The deer is still alive. He was just on a trail camera last year. And I'm just like, man, like what, like, and that bow.
What a cool story.
That bow is shooting perfectly on,
yep.
you know? And so, but it's stuff like that. It's like I didn't, and I could have kept that to myself. I didn't have to tell anybody. I could have, I didn't see no deer. I owned up to it.
Yep.
I owned up to it. Because stuff happens.
Well, and sharing those things are great learning lessons for, obviously yourself. That'll probably never happen again, right? Never. But for other people too, you sharing that. Let's say somebody listens to this and has the same problem. They might go, "Wait a minute, I remember hearing Ricky on that podcast talk about it. Let me check that."
Yeah.
So, I apprate when folks share their failures because you can learn.
Even shooting the broadhead you're using. Yeah, broadheads are expensive. Shoot one. You get a practice one. No, shoot the one out of a 3-pack. Shoot one just to make sure that the whole pack isn't faulty. I'm not saying like, you might the one of the ones or the 3, but like I was just shooting one, and I'm like, man, that's weird. Like that should be opening. It's supposed to open on impact, and you would think blowing through 2 targets and hitting mud would at least open it. It wasn't opening. You know what I'm saying? So like I learned a lot in that experience. Yep. Right? That it's okay. Like, I'm not going to kill myself over it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Like, it sucks because it was a monster buck. It was probably one of my best ones. But it was unfortunate that I missed it, whatever it was.
Well, and losing sleep and stressing about it isn't going to change it either. I've learned that as I've gotten older too. Some of these things, after they happen, it's over. Yeah. And it's like, there's no point in working yourself up about it because what's it going to change? Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that. I did want to say too, you mentioned the crossbow thing. Where I stand right now with it is, and I've taken some pretty hard stances on things over the years, and I've tried to be a little bit better about that, but anymore, I try to look at the resource, and I worry that crossbows in the hands of the wrong person are dangerous.
That. No, it is.
My dad shoots a crossbow. I've killed deer with crossbow. The way technology has advanced isn't changing, and I see the guys just like the guys with TSS. I shoot TSS, and then you see a YouTube video of guys shooting one at 90, and you're like, what are we doing?
It's because where is their passion lying? Is their passion online successfully killing and harvesting a bird? Because I imagine that bird would have came close to the 90 yards. Or is it because you want to get 1 million views on YouTube?
Exactly.
Right? Regardless of what it's going to do to the industry. But again, dude, anything can be taken to the extreme.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't agree with these people like spear hunting all of a sudden. Like, bro, we have equipment now that like, you can harvest an animal much easier. I'm sorry to say that. A lot of people love certain people that do it, but are you that bored with hunting? Like, maybe you shouldn't hunt anymore.
You're right. It's probably for views.
It is.
And if that's what you're in it for,
but again, are you that serious and passionate about it that is how you want to pursue your stuff? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know people's hearts or whatever.
Right.
But like me personally, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's tough. You're right. So much of it is perspective, and like I think you mentioned before we even started recording here, there was something you said about like all the tips and stuff you see online, and a lot of it is like certain or like the gospel, and there's so many.
It was the shed hunting stuff.
Yeah, there's so many different intricacies and factors that you can't necessarily apply all of those things to your specific situation.
100%, dude. And it was like, so like when I was really like pursuant on like finding sheds every like, because it was a numbers thing. Like, again, I love deer antlers. Like, people do it for like, some people just do it just because they want the likes on Instagram. Go out on my Instagram. You're not going to see any of my antlers, and it's because,
which, by the way, these are all Ricky's, and they're huge.
and the thing is like, I would listen to these podcasts with like all these people who everyone on social media thinks that like they're all these rising stars and they're all these stars and they have all this stuff and yada yada yada. Put me on one of their farms, I guarantee I can double their sheds. I'm telling you I can. I listen to so many people talk about shed hunting and so many tips and so many tricks and so many articles and all this stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a baseline of stuff to understand. Food, bedding, water, that's it, right? Understand that. Then saying, hey, I'm going out and I'm just looking for sheds. Cover ground, right? Go as far as you can, as much as you possibly can. I walk fast when I look for sheds. Some people are like, you're missing. Yeah, probably I am. Good thing for the next guy. But I'm out there to find antlers. And I go to all those spots. Don't just hone in on what you heard, like, oh, south-facing slopes. You know how many antlers I found on north-facing slopes, on east-facing slopes, on west-facing slopes? Because there's so many people that go on social media and say, oh, Billy Buck Hunter said do this. This is where I'm going to find him this year. You probably just missed out on all the other stuff that nobody else walked.
Well, because the reality is, Easton always says this, and it's so true, is they only have to be somewhere one time to lose, and they lose their antler when they're there that one time. That's why people find them in the road or in the ditches.
It's luck. Okay, it's luck. When you come across, now if it's your family farm and you know every deer trail and every bedding area and every food source and every water hole, then there's probably something to it, and you can leave it go. But most public land shed hunters can't just wait for the deer antlers to fall off. Like, get out there, make a plan, say, this is where I want to get to, this is where I'm going to spend my time, and then get back to your truck. And then if you have the ability to go the next day, say, all right, I've walked this section of woods. I didn't really see a lot of sign. I did see a lot of sign. I saw a lot of acorns. Whatever it is, go and walk another section. But you don't have to, when they say grid search an area, like I do like these big loop patterns or whatever, and it works for me. Again, how many small antlers do I walk over? Probably a lot. Good thing for the squirrels and the mice.
Sure.
You get food. But I would average. This past year is different because I started a church and I'm in ministry, and it's taken up a lot of time, which I love it. Thank the Lord. But the time I do get to go out, like this year I walked 150 miles, but before that I was averaging about 400 to 500 miles a year. So you learn stuff when you're out there. You learn a lot. And when you're on public land, you learn that the deer aren't just because they were in a bedding area during hunting season. Well, now you got 50 people tromping through there from February 1st, okay, all the way till April. So those deer where you thought were at, they might not be there. They might be hiding in on a bench off of a ravine somewhere close to a food source. Like some of these antlers I found on a bench where I know nobody walked. Because one, it was like a 20-foot drop to get down there, and people are lazy. Sorry, public, but it's true. And that's how you find antlers. But when I'm out there, I enjoy the creation. I enjoy the animal. I enjoy that no antler is the same. I enjoy that alone time that I get to just pray and talk with God, because it's in His presence. And again, if I would have just listened to all those tips and all those tricks, I probably would have wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, does it work? Yeah. There's something to it, but don't just be focused on what you hear. Experience it for yourself.
It's a generalization at the end of the day.
Correct.
And every woodlot and situation is so different.
Correct.
I'm curious, do you find a lot of them in just wide open timber?
So I have, and that's the thing is so if you say you got to some areas of I'll just say Mohican. I don't hunt there, so I don't care who goes there. But I went down there shed hunting, and you'll get into 100 acres of just kind of a big open forest. There's no ravines or whatever. You might find something in there, maybe, but I focus on flats. So you look at your Onyx maps of everything, and you have big ravines on one side, and this might be a flat that's 200, 300 yards wide. And what I do is and I'll tell everyone in my church, I don't care. I can care less. I walk the edges and then I walk the middles. And like I said, I'm not walking slow. So I'm walking where my eyes, and again, this is all learning. I know how fast I can scan with my eyes, and I use my binoculars a lot. I look with my binoculars a lot, and I go in the middles, and I have found a lot in the middle. And so people, when you read tips and stuff online, they're like, oh, I don't look in the middle woods until the end of shed season or whatever it is. Why? If you're there, just walk it quickly. Because the thing is I love finding all antlers, all shapes, all sizes, all whatever. But I'm looking for big antlers. At the end of the day, I'm looking for big ones. And those are ones that you're probably not going to pass up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's you know.
You got some slammers. I was just curious, any more, like, and I don't find near as many as you do, but if somebody asked me, like, where around here, like, do you find the most antlers? For me, it's like a wide open oak hardwoods next to a food source. Not like, you know, I'll find a couple in like the shed looking stuff, like the real cool grassy thick stuff. But like when I get to like an open oak hardwoods next to like a cut cornfield, I'll pick up a few, like every time.
And that's the thing is like, it's based too like on how much pressure is out there. You know, like if you have a private farm that's a couple 100 acres, don't go out there until March. You know, put a camera out there and just let your camera tell you with the intel. And again, I mean, I have found that more people trespass to find sheds than anything else. Like, dude, and that's the thing is like, and this is a tip for the public. If you have private land, like if you have private property and the landowner's gracious enough to give you permission, show him that gratitude back by going in. And every single year I walk my land, like all of my landowners, and I have a lot of private like a lot. I have a lot, like probably over 2,000 acres, this area. Walk all that land for them. Tell them what's going on their land. They'll appreciate that. I have found cell phone cameras on that were people that weren't there, tree stands that were not allowed to be there, where people were like dumping stuff. Like I have found stuff that my landowners don't go do. You know, if they're farmers or if they're landowners or they're workers, like some of them never even go in their woods. Go take care of it just as if it was your own property. They will appreciate that. And I'm telling you, like, I've gotten a lot of tree stands from my buddy who owns a lot of properties. Like, that's not mine. Take it. Yeah. And I talked to the game owner and he was like, that's your, like, if your friend owns that property, it's there. That's his property. Well, you guys, it's 2025. If you don't have Onyx or something to tell you where the property lines are, or if you don't see the 15,000 yellow signs that say private property, then yeah, maybe you deserve to lose your stuff. Yeah. You know, and maybe it's a lesson.
There's really no excuse in today's world. No, there's no excuse.
Because my friend was like, if I come up there, he's like, I'm telling you right now, if you don't take those down when I get from Florida, I'm taking a hacksaw to all those. And I'm like, no, those are nice tree stands.
They're perfectly good.
Yeah, like, you know, but again, it's like that. Like, but if you're on public land, it's something to learn, you know, because you and I can say like, yeah, these hard open, like, you know, these hardwoods, oaks and stuff. But if you go to a property that's pretty, like if you go to a public land where there's a lot of popular cities around, then there might be a lot of pressure on that land. So say like Mohican, for example, there's a lot of parcels and stuff. Find an area that's hard to get to from a road or a trailhead. And say, hey, this is a walk, but this could be worth it. And spend a day hiking up into like a flat or a ridge or wherever it's at, and spend a day like on the side of the hills, down in the valleys or whatever it is. And if it's not good, then you can say, you know what, I tried that, let me try something else. Yep. You know, you're not always going to go out. Dude, I've walked 15 miles before, and I've walked a couple days and a lot of miles and not found anything. Yeah. It's a humbling experience. Sure. Before I used to get real mad. You know, now I'm just like I just, when you, like I said before, it always comes back to like having a relationship with Jesus, dude. When you gave your life to pursuing the Lord in the ways, again, not everyone's called to do ministry, but if you give your life to the Lord with where you're at today and who you are, your life will be different, and all the things that you do in your life will be different.
Those 2 days of no finding sheds are a little bit
dude, I'm
a little bit easier.
No, because it's like I just spent 10 hours in talking with God.
And like, exercising and being outside in the sun.
And that's the thing. And like, dude, the story I was telling about, I shot that deer. So that's a good friend of mine. And we can talk about the turkey right now if you want.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
I want, before you get into it, did you know about it last year?
The
whole thing.
Yeah, so all right.
How'd you get access to it? All that fun stuff.
So I have a good friend of mine, and he buys property. He's very well off. Let's put it that way. And he loves hunting, and so he deer hunts. So like he lives in Florida half the year. So like he shoots his buck, he's done. Like and so like he has all these properties, and he allows me to hunt, and
that's
and nobody else hunts them. So it's like he bought a golf course up by where I live. And just to hunt it, right? So
it's not operable anymore.
Oh no, dude. So like it ran for the first. So the year he bought it, it ran it just was open to the end of that season, right? And so he was letting me goose and duck hunt there, and I never asked him to deer hunt because I knew he deer hunted, and I'm not going to do that, you know. I'm like, he lets me goose hunt. I'm like, I don't care. Like, we're banging away ducks and geese here. So the next year he was like, that's when I could go deer hunting or whatever. Well, he had sent me pictures of like this, and this was probably like 4 years ago. Let's just say within 3, 4, 5 years, right? Well, no, it was at least 4 or 5 years ago. And so he had sent me pictures like out of his truck window driving down the drive of like a group of turkeys. And there was like some white ones and there were some smoke phases. And dude, they're real interesting colors. But like it was hard to see the picture. So I was like, man, is there any males there? Like I could never tell. So even like when I'd be out there deer hunting, like I never saw them like while I was deer hunting. So like I could never see if there was like toms, you know? Well, this past year, I did not deer hunt it this past fall season, right? Last year for turkey season, I wasn't able to hunt it because I literally shot my bird in 20 minutes at my friend's property. The year before that, I was hunting it. Okay, so I knew those white birds were there. So this would be 2 springs ago. And I was going out there. That's only 20 minutes from my house, so I would go out there. I didn't hear no gobbles. Like, dude, I'm telling you, like the picture perfect property of what you see like turkey hunters on, huge oak trees, huge beech trees, the perfect roosting trees, huge open fairways. You know what I'm saying? Like you would think that turkeys would be like all over everywhere, right? It's the golf course isn't running, but he had to maintain it because he wound up selling it to a developer. Okay, so knowing that in the back of my head, I'm like, my time is limited for hunting here, so like I better get one of those turkeys. Well, I hunted there a lot. I didn't even hear gobbles. Okay? And I'm like, man, like, what is going on? And I was like, dude, like maybe it's like my friend's property where they go to another property or something. They just hang out, you know? So that was the year I sent you that bird with the white tail, the middle white feathers, you know?
Yep.
And I always know, I was like, hey, they love turkey. I'm going to send that, you know?
Love turkey.
So the next year, which had been last year, he was like, hey, the developer is closing on the land, and so they're going to be out there and stuff, so maybe you shouldn't hunt, you know. I'm like, oh, that sucks, you know, like that's crappy. And then I wound up shooting my bird like last year. Like it was literally the Sunday of opening morning, and I took a kid hunting for his first turkey hunting, and we went out to his uncle's property. It was like an hour away. We heard some gobbles, we heard some gunshots at neighbors' properties, and he's like, all right, I'm cool to go home. I'm like, sure, we can hunt the 12. He's like, I'm good. It was 10 o'clock. I dropped him off his truck. At 11 o'clock, I texted my friend. I was like, hey, I'm coming to your house like right now to turkey hunt. And season ends at 12, right? At 11:20, I got there at 11. At 11:20, I was calling him to come pick me up on the 4-wheeler because I shot my bird.
Oh my gosh.
So like, dude, I was like texting people. I'm like, you want to go? You know? So I didn't get to hunt, right? But I had taken my cousin to the golf course last year because like, or was that 2 years? Man, it's like all of my... No, last year we didn't hunt at all. Well, my buddy closed on half the property. He still owns 180 acres where his like deer blind and stuff is. Well, this year he had turkeys on his trail camera and he sent me a picture.
So he kept part of the golf course?
Yeah. So
okay,
like he owns... So like they're closing it on it all eventually.
Oh, okay.
And it was like 500... It was like 460 acres. So he still owns like 180 acres of it, and it's all the woods. Okay. Which is like...
Perfect.
Yeah, right? So he sends me some pictures from his trail camera of the turkeys. And the trail cameras he uses aren't like... The pixelation is not that great, you know? So I'm like, man, like I'm trying to see like if there's toms, you know? But there's like some solid white, like some white ones, some smoke phases. So there's... Again, they could be all hens. I don't know. Well, I'm out there shed hunting, and there's a farm that butts up to it, and I could see a big group of birds, and they're in a finger, right? And I'm like, I'm not spooking those birds, dude. You know, like, and I figured like maybe the turkeys weren't around because there was a lot of stuff going on in the golf course or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's nothing going on another farm, like they're just gonna hang out there. So I get on my binoculars, I'm looking, but because they're so far away, I can just see colors, right? And I was like, all right, like I'm just gonna hunt. And so again, my passion is to get one of these white birds or a smoke. I don't care about. I would like to shoot a white bird, but I want a smoke phase. Like those smoke phases are beautiful, right? And so, again, Sundays I can't hunt. Well, Saturday nights I was doing church, but we switched over to Sunday mornings now officially. But I'm like, all right, Sunday mornings. Then we had Easter. We have these things going on Sundays, right? And I'm like, Lord, like, and I'm busy with ministry stuff throughout the week, like, so. And then you got work and my wife, like, just we got I have 2 grandkids. I'm 38 years old. My wife, people are like, what? But my wife's 50. Okay. So she had a daughter who's got, and so there's a lot of stuff that is, like that I don't get to hunt all the time like I used to. So I'm just like, Lord, like I know, like I just Lord, like I would pray, just Lord, just bless me, just bless me, And so, dude, opening morning I was out there. I didn't hear a single gobble, dude. Okay, and I'm like, no, not this again. But I still was thankful. I was still like, I was thankful that in every single, like I told you, every single morning I drive, I'm like, Lord, thank you for another beautiful day. Thank you for, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was still thankful. But
maybe he blessed you because the year before, you were done so quick, and he's like, I want to let him hunt a little bit.
But what's crazy is, like, again, usually I'm like a running gunner kind of guy. Like, I'm calling, I'm listening for birds, I'm trying to get on them. I knew, though, that I was stuck in, like, the way that the woods is set up. Like, the turkeys were always like in one spot over there, right? So, like, I knew going into these hunts, I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I found a really nice big dead tree. I made a nice area to sit. So, like, I made it comfortable for myself to sit there from 5 a.m. till noon. Like, I had food, my cell phone charger. I would just use to read the Bible app. Like, I had, like, drink. I had everything, my thermostat. Like, I was there knowing that, like, if I hear a bird on the other side, like, where he owns, I'll go get it. But this is where all the turkeys are, right? And so I just knew that sitting there, this is what it was going to be. So the first time I was out there, I didn't hear nothing. And I was like, okay.
And that was opening day.
I was like, so opening day was on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So, well, it would have been Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it was. It was opening weekend I was there.
Yeah.
So I was like, the next day, it was like probably during the week. So then during the week, because on the weekend it's quiet, because across the street from this is like industrials. So, like, I didn't even think about that, right? So I get there like a Monday or Tuesday morning or whatever, and it's like semi trucks and all kinds of chaos going on. I'm like, this sucks.
Definitely not gonna hear one.
Dude, airplanes, because the Cleveland Hopkins Airport's only like 25 minutes. Airplanes flying over, and I'm like, dude. Well, I'm hunting. Didn't hear no turkeys gobble. It's 11:45, right? And I just hit my box call. Just one loud box rip. And all of a sudden I hear, and I'm looking at my phone, I'm like, it's 11:45. I'm like, dude, this is not happening to me. This is not happening to me. So I hit that call again, and they're just coming. Dude, I mean, and they're coming. I literally, like, I don't know how most people hunt, but I just adjusted myself to where they were coming into the woods. So before I could get adjusted, okay, even to get, like, my gun up, they're already, like, they must have been way on the other side of the property. They're already to the wood line, and it was 5 jakes, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. But I was like, I'm like, I have my phone, like, on the ground, and I'm watching the time, and I'm like, I'm gonna just keep these jakes gobbling.
Yeah.
Right. And some people are like, I don't educate jakes. Like, well, I'm like, dude, I'm out looking for a tom, dude.
Yep.
Because I'm thinking if those birds are gobbling, then there might be a tom somewhere that's like, why are they gobbling? And for the turkey hunting world, it's one of those things. I have learned that hunting birds for me has always been the best from 11 to 2. That has been the most successful time. I killed the biggest bird of my life right at like 6 o'clock or whatever, like, the 1 year, but it's always like the afternoon. It's always fire for me. Some people are like, they shut up, whatever. I'm like, well, I don't know what you're doing. So I was like, maybe there's a tom around. They hung out with me for a while. I didn't, I just let them wander off. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I go out again. I wound up spending 40 hours of hunting time at that tree.
Wow.
Okay? And it was a Sunday morning, and it was crisp, And let me rewind the story. That morning, I said that it was opening morning. I had a bird gobbling. I apologize for this. I had a bird gobbling And if you've hunted turkeys long enough, when you hear a bird gobble and then he's 150 yards away gobble and he's 150 yards away gobble, he's probably henned up, right? And I heard that morning, I heard a bird gobble, then it gobble far, and I was like, that hen just took him across the road. And I figured that she was nesting over there because probably was safer, right? I was assuming. So that's what happened. So I was back out there hunting. The same thing happened. I heard birds gobble, but it was like earlier in the morning, and they were right by where the first opening day I heard them gobble, and I'd never seen those birds, right? So I only saw jakes, and so it was kind of similar though. I had them gobbling, but then I just shut up. Instead of me calling, I just shut up, and I've learned sometimes we just need to shut up, okay? And I think. And I know this while I'm hunting, but it was opening and I was like so excited, like I just, I'm calling or whatever. But that day I was like, no, I'm just going to be quiet, And he kind of gobbled and then he shut up. And it was like 45 minutes, dude. And I just gave some like soft yelps, just some clucks, some purrs, just a little love sequence out there, And I heard him gobble, and he was kind of in the same area, right? So then once I heard that, I gave it about 5 minutes, and I just started yelping and just cutting. And it was just like that. And he was just like, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, this bird's done for, right? And it's getting close to 9 o'clock. So I'm like, if he's on fire like this, like there's no hen with him.
Yeah.
So I'm watching where he's coming from, and I'm trying to adjust, like, when you hunt by yourself, like turkey hunt by yourself is hard. It's like if you don't know how to mouth call, or if you're not confident in your calling, like it's hard. Like getting your gun up, like and all that stuff, right? And you try to do the best you can to set yourself up, but it's Mother Nature. It's wild.
It's sometimes nice too when you have someone because you can kind of like bounce ideas off people. Well, it's also just fun being with someone. But I know like when I'm with my brother or dad or whoever, like you can kind of bounce an idea off each other. When you're by yourself, you're like. Whether I succeed or fail, like it's on me.
so I just shut up, right? And I see a turkey coming, and he's kind of like moving quickly, and I'm like, oh, dude, like what's going on? And then all of a sudden, like I see another one kind of like chasing him. Well, I realized the first one was a jake. Well, when the one I shot got into a certain angle, I could see that it was a smoke-faced bird. And I didn't care what it looked like. I saw it was a smoke-faced bird. Then I saw his beard, and then I saw he was a mature tom. And I was like, that's the one. But what was and I was like, so like, they were cruising, right? So like that tom was chasing that jake. Like he was like pecking, he was like running him off. Well, that jake would come back, and then the tom would push him off further. And I'm like, dude, this is not happening right now. Like, can you just play the play? Can you just do it the way I want it to be done? So I hit some calls a little bit. He stopped, and that jake had kind of came back in, and that he like kind of ran him off. Well, he was moving more to my side now, and so when he was kind of chasing that jake out into like the old fairway, I kind of adjusted to where my back was against the tree. Now my back was against the open space, and my side was to the tree.
Okay,
right. And so like, but I was like steady, like my gun was set up and everything. And dude, he was at like 55 yards or something. And again, I would have loved to have him closer. Okay, I would have loved it. But unfortunately, the jake was not allowing him to play the play. And I saw that jake coming back, and I'm like, if he gets around me, I'm done, because where I was at, like where that tree was at, there's huge pricker bushes like on that. If he would have went 5 more yards, I would have not been able to see him.
Gotcha.
So like he was at the perfect opportunity, and I shot. And when I shot, I saw the jake run off, and then I see the white bird run off, and I'm like, dude. I was just like, there's no way this just happened to me. I'm like, what is about this property? Right? So I wait some time, and I go out, and I'm like, there's no feathers. I'm like looking around. I'm like, is there a pattern? Like, what happened? So I like walk back to the tree. I'm like, I'm like, man, that's where I shot. Like, go back out there, no feathers. I walked to where that bird had ran, and he was dead. He was dead right there, right? And what's wild is I took that bird right to my taxidermist, to Dave Heyer. Like,
oh yeah, okay,
all right, they do an incredible job on turkeys. Like, I won't take my stuff anywhere else. And the guy that was doing it, he took his time on that, like skinning that for me, dude. The pattern was like in its neck, like it like literally looked like just like this. It was like a baseball, like it was like in his neck, and somehow that bird was able to just it was like so tight that not even one BB like hit the bird's spine or whatever, but it was just enough to kill him.
Huh.
Dude, I'm telling you, he's like, I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, I'm surprised he was able to run at all.
Dude,
that's wild.
I am, and for him not to drop or nothing, it was so insane. So I get that bird, and I posted it, and Paul Campbell, he has a podcast in Ohio, and he's like, yo, Wild Turkey DNA is looking for birds like that. And here's the thing is, I didn't know this until like my taxidermist already skinned it, got the like all the stuff, right? So I sent what pictures I had to the girl, and she's like, yeah, we would love to to do that. And she's like, I need you to get a sample of the tongue. I'm like, well, the tongue's in the freezer with the taxidermist, and we can't get it. He's like, well, just send a piece of the meat. And good thing that I had some of the meat still frozen. I didn't eat it right away.
Yeah. So you just take a chunk of the breast meat or whatever.
Well, she said that would be sufficient enough, but usually it's a piece of the tongue. And they send you this sample kit, and there's like a vial, and you put it in the vial. There's like a solution there that helps preserve the meat or the whatever, and you send it off. And so she had contacted me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and said that it's about 8 to 10 weeks before I get the genetic report back on it.
So this might be a dumb question. What is the genetic report going to specify?
I believe it's going to specify, because you typically when we see birds like that, they're like farm birds, right?
Right.
So I believe it's going to tell how much of that genetics is a farm raised genetic. Compare it with a wild genetic. If it's all wild, if it's all like how much, because we're seeing it in the duck world right now with mallards.
Really?
It's a big problem. So they're going to be able to tell and again, I know for a fact that those birds have been wild there for years now. And I ran into one of the neighbors. She's like, I've been seeing those birds for eight plus years we've been here. So was there a farm raised turkey that had gotten out of someone's farm somewhere and just started breeding and breeding and breeding and breeding? I'll find out by their genetics, because my bird, I think, was like a 3-year-old bird, I would say. He was a big bird, because when we weighed him at the taxidermist, he was almost 25 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, he was big.
Wow, yeah, that's a good sized turkey. I'll put a picture on the screen for everybody watching this.
I'll send you two, because I'll send you the picture. But I took one that I had his wings out on the wall.
Okay.
Did I send you that one?
I don't remember. I know the one like you had him on your knee.
Yeah, so I'll send you the one that I have in the woods when I shot him. Like, you could see the colors on him are like, I'm telling you. And again, I thanked God, dude, because I was like, just like, Lord, thank you for that.
It's so rare. Like that is the coolest turkey. I mean, the white ones are cool. That's way cooler in my opinion. Cooler.
I was so thankful for that, and again, thankful that my friend allows me to hunt there and just, and for that opportunity, because I didn't know if I would be able to, like, obviously, like, if that land closes, like, I'm not going to be able to hunt those turkeys anymore, and they're just buying up all the farmland around, so it's not going to be developed, and those turkeys are going to just keep getting pushed around, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I was very thankful, and yeah, like, I spent a lot of hours on that big dead tree, and sometimes that's what you have to do. I talked to some of these people that are turkey hunters, and I'm like texting them at 9 o'clock. They're like, "Oh, I didn't hear nothing about the woods." I'm like, "Okay, bro. Like, well, no wonder why you're calling me to take you turkey hunting."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no. If spend the time out there and just sit by a tree. Like, if you don't have 100 acres to hunt with what you have. And it might not be as fun as what you buddies like. I was running this ridge and all this stuff. That's great and that's awesome. But if you only have 40 acres or 50 acres and there's turkeys in the area, you can call one of those turkeys over from a neighboring property. Just be patient.
Yep.
Put your time in.
That's great advice. I think some of the most successful hunters in whatever game they're pursuing is the time aspect. You get so many people that, like you said, they call it quits if it doesn't go their way within the first hour or two, deer or turkey, and it's like, just put the time in. Time is such a key factor to success in this game.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, like, you may not get a turkey for 3 weeks of the season. But you're not going to get one if you're not hunting.
Yep.
Right? Like, dude, the 1 year that I shot the biggest turkey that I've ever killed, and his hooks were, well, his hook, his one was busted off, was so my family has got property in Medina County too. And like, it's just, and if you look at the tract of woods, there's just parcel, but it's just a massive tract of woods, right? There's a good turkey population in that area. And dude, I hunted, and it was like, he was like the ghost turkey on the neighbor's property, dude. And what would happen, and it was like, this happened all year long, like all season long, is I would get him, and then hens would just swoop in. It didn't matter, when the season went all day, it would still happen to me in the middle, like in the afternoon. I'm like, aren't you guys nesting? Yeah. Like, what is going on, And so I finally just got the courage to go ask the neighbor behind us, because he owned 100 acres. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm trying to kill a turkey. I'm out here every day hunting. Can I just hunt on the back edge? He's like, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. And so what I did was this is where it comes into time and just learn, humble yourself to the wild animal. People are like, oh, the turkey's got like a brain inside. Well, guess what? He's fooling you somehow. They're fooling you still somehow, yep. Right? Just be a woodsman and humble yourself and say like, yeah, this sucks that I have to sit in the same spot for 10 hours, but I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And so what I did that year is I found a huge downfall, just a massive big downfall. It was like a perfect square. I took my foot and got all the leaves out of it, and I did the same thing. I brought my battery charger, some food, some water, and just made sure that I just read the Bible app when I'm out there. I just read scripture. Like, you could do whatever you want, but like I read scripture. That's what I do. And I literally would get that tree, like that bird roosted, and he would like change his roost spots, and it didn't matter how close I was, there would always be just hens right on him, and I'm like, dude, like this guy is like Mac Daddy.
He's the man,
dude. And I'm like, man. So and the thing is, like, there was like, I knew there was other times in the area, but they wouldn't gobble. Like they just were. It was like they were afraid, and so. Even then, like I was always hopeful that I would just get a stranger, just somebody that's like, cruising around looking for some, some loving in the midday. No, dude, nothing, Well, it was the week that when the season was ending. I think we had 2 days, right? The second to the last day, I had him roosted, and he was like in this like just stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get close as I can to him, right? So that next morning, I got close to him. Dude, he was with a hen, and like they literally, and it was like those hens by me. Like sometimes you'll get hens that like want to bicker with you, like and go back at it. Every hen by me just would be. They're just like, nope, we're out of here. Like, and they would all just opposite. Like I'm like man, like nothing. Well, the last day of the season, dude, this is like the hunt I'll never forget. I'm hunting that bird, and I'm like, all right. I know that hen took him across the street because there's like pine trees that cross the street from where we were hunting. But I know he comes back because I know where he roosts. And he roosts in this general area every time. And I'm like, this is where I'm going to be at. So it was like 4:30 in the afternoon. And I'm just in this downfall. And like, I'll call every 30 minutes, and I hit my box call, and I heard one gobble, and it's on a farm next to me. And what it is it's like a big field, but there's a finger that goes at the end of this field, and he gobbles on the other side of that finger, and I'm like, this bird, like it's yes, right? So I call again, and he gobbles, and then I just shut up, and then all of a sudden I hear a tractor coming. And not only is it just like a tractor, but it's one of those massive tractors with the huge wheels, and it's spraying the field. And I'm like, there's no way this is happening right now to me. Like, what's the chance of this, So here he comes, coming down the field, and because he can't swing the field, he has to like beep, beep. I'm like, dude, this sucks, So he gets out of that finger, and I hit my box call, just like, I hit it, and that bird gobbles. I'm like, oh my gosh, he didn't scare him away. So I'm thinking like, okay, in this time, I had like put a single hen decoy. So like in the finger, the finger goes, just say it's north to south, right? At the end of that finger is an old logging road that's on this guy's property. I'm like, there's no way that bird's coming across that field. He's going to come right around that finger and into that logging road because it's a perfect strut zone for him. And he's going to see that hen decoy. Like, this is money, right? So he gobbles. I shut up. Here comes the tractor one more time, right? And as soon as it leaves, I hit my call. There's no gobble. And I'm like, dude, like, this is stupid, you know? So I'm just watching. I'm thinking he's coming there. Dude, that tractor goes up by that finger and turns around. And by the time that tractor had turned around that time, that bird was coming across the field where that tractor was just at. Literally came right across the field. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, I had turned around just to look behind me, and I saw him sneaking through the woods looking. And I was able to kill that bird. That bird had his beard was massive. He was like an 1 3/4 spur, like big spur. His other one was broke off. And I understood then why, like no other bird. He was probably a scrapper and he would just beat up on all the other birds, you know? But that was a very hard, but again, it's just patience, dude. You know, like, and another Tom could have came in and I would have been just as happy for it. But because it was like the last day and the last hours, like, and that was the biggest bird I've ever killed, I don't care. Like, yeah, big beards are cool, but I love hooks.
Yeah.
You know, like, I am a spur guy all day long. You know, you can kill a big bird with huge spurs and it might have beard rot. You can't kill a bird off. You kill a mature bird, be happy with it. And if it's got big hooks, that's a plus. You know, like, that's what I get the joy out of, because you're like, that's an older bird, you know?
Yep.
And so, but yeah, it's just get out there, and if something's not working, call less, you know? Don't call as much. Think about if you got people hunting the properties next to you, what they're doing, you know, because I've been hunting before where I've heard people calling in other properties, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, try to list, like, even if you go out before the season starts, listen to what the hens are doing. Be in the woods and listen to what the birds are doing already. You know, you listen to a lot of these podcasts, people are like, I don't crow call for locators. That's been my best locator calls, crow call. You know, people are like, turkeys hear them all day long. Well, something about that crow call I have gets birds to gobble when nothing else doesn't. Try stuff that works for you. You know,
goes back to situational. It just find what works for you.
I have a peacock call in my. Have you ever used one of those?
I don't have one specifically, but our buddy Corey, he has one, and it works.
And that's the thing is, like, you remember, you're just trying to get the bird to gobble, right? And so it's a shock gobble. It could be a car door. It could be an airplane. It could be a helicopter, whatever it is. Do something that works for you. Don't worry about if it works for you, who cares what anyone thinks? And that's how I hunt now, you know?
Yep.
It's just like, and dude, it's I mean, the way that I am now, and it's because, like, the Lord has shaped me, it's like, everything is just much better and different in my life, and I look at hunting so much different. It's like, you know, I go to the Maumee River fishing every year, right? And I'm standing next to this kid, and we wound up training Instagrams, and we were talking about hunting and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm after this white bird, you know, I was telling him, and she didn't live by me, so I don't care, you know, like, and plus I'm the only one with private properties, so you know, whatever. I was excited about it. So he saw that I posted, and he's like, hey, go check out this area in Michigan. I don't want to say the city name, so I'll keep that one to myself. But he's like, he's like, it's awesome that you got that bird. He's like, my wife and I just got back from there, and we live in it out fast. There's a lot of birds, and I was like, dude, awesome, you know. And I was like, all right, you know. And this is where this comes in for you, for me. And I hope that everyone can find this. When you live for Jesus, like when you truly live your life for him, saying, like, whatever I do in my life, like, I want to glorify God in everything I do. I was like, I talked to my wife and I was like, hey, after church service on Saturday night, Sunday morning, I'm going to leave for Michigan. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. She's like, who are you going with? I'm like, I'm just going to go by myself. And I was like, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to go check out church. I'm going to go check a church out. Because sometimes I do like sitting out of churches. Like, even though I preach on Sundays, like, sometimes I like to check out other churches and sit and receive sometimes. And she's like, I was like, so I looked up some churches and I found one that looked pretty nice. And I was like, I'm gonna go check this out. So I left pretty early in the morning. I was kind of driving around some back roads, and I go to the church service, and I'm just talking to some of the people, and because usually when you go to a church that's friendly, people talk to you, especially if you're a stranger, And so I was like, and again, when you're driving, it's a 3-hour drive, right? And I'm just praying, like, God, use me up there, like, even though I don't know where I'm going, guide me, like, put it on my heart to go to this place or talk to this person. But I said, while I'm up there, put somebody in my life that I need to talk to, like whatever it is, like I want this to glorify you, And so like I'm just talking to people at church, and you're like, hey, you're from Ohio? Like, yeah. Like, what are you doing? I'm turkey hunting. They're like, oh, really? Like, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know yet. Like, I don't know. I didn't know anyone there, you know? And they're like, really? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, why did you places? And they didn't really know anywhere, They were kind of like, oh, I'll go check this place out. Go check this place out. And Michigan's got like, like those units are weird.
Very.
It's like ZA and all that stuff. And I'm like looking, and like at first I looked, and it was like the ZZ unit was all sold out, and I was like, dude, I got nervous, and I was like, I'm gonna have to drive like 4 more hours to go hunt, But then I started reading and stuff, and I was like, all right, like I figured it out.
Same thing happened to me the first year. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm all the way up here and I can't get a tag.
Dude, it was 50,000 tags that were sold out. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna see no turkeys, So I get out of church service, and I told my wife, I'm like, because the drive's not bad, if I don't find like private property, like I'm just gonna come home, like. There's no and I didn't have an Airbnb or anything booked yet, and she's like, okay, I was like, but I'm gonna spend all day up here. So I just started driving around, looking on Onyx, driving around, looking at private property, and I had found a place that was like 180 acres, and the guy lived like, a little bit distance away, and I was like, I'm gonna go talk to him. And because I'm a realtor, I also have abilities to get people's phone numbers and everything about them, right? So I'm like, this guy's 80 years old, like cool, I'm gonna talk to him. Go talk to him. He's like, hey, unfortunately, my grandkids hunt and stuff. He's like, I wish I could help you out. And he's like, kind of giving me some areas to go to or whatever. And so he kind of told me some other private properties to go check out that he always sees turkeys at. I was like, thank you, But I was kind of focused in on an area. So I'm just driving around, and I'm seeing turkeys, and I'm seeing turkeys, and I'm seeing turkeys. And I cut to a place where there's like literally, it's like from one road to the next road, it's a whole family that owns like all this land. And I drive by this field, and I see a big tom coming across the field. So I go down and turn around, and by the time I turned around, that tom is like, I'm in this guy's driveway at his door, and that tom is walking right across the street into his yard. And I'm like, Brett, like, dude, can you please answer the door? Answer the door. Well, he didn't answer the door. So I go down to his, like, the family members right on the other side, and I was like, hey, I was just at your uncles or cousins or whoever, and I was like, I was like, my name's Ricky, I'm from Ohio, I'm just up here, turkey hunting for a few days, or, whenever, if I could find a place. And he's like, yeah, we hunt and stuff. And that guy wasn't, like, as nice as I was hoping for, but he's like, I was like, oh, did you guys get one? He's like, no. And I was like, well, I'm gonna share something with you. Like, there's one like just walked right across your uncle's like in front of you, and he's big, He's like, oh yeah, and I was like, okay, cool, thanks, have a good day. So I go back to like, where the 180 acres were. There was like big parcels of land. It was like 180 acres, 100 acres, like there was like, So I was like, I'm gonna focus in on this, and I had went to like another place, and there was nobody home, and I saw birds on the backside of their property. So I pull into one. It's like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start small, like 40 acres. And I see a real estate sign in this guy's front yard, and I see them outside. I'm like, perfect. Pull in. Guy's like, yeah, you can hunt here.
So it was for sale?
Yeah, the property's for sale. And he's like, yeah, you can hunt here. He's like, we see them all the time back there or whatever. And I was like, cool. And he's like, yeah, just, pull your, I was like, I'm going to be here really early in the morning though. Like, I don't want to, and he's like, we don't care. He's like, just pull right back.
Love it.
So I was like, awesome. So I go to the other side of the road where there's 100 acres that touches 40, right? And it's a long driveway. And if you ever hear people talk to like, I try to avoid long driveways. People don't want to bother. I'm like, I don't really care. And I'm wearing Jesus shirt, like, like let's talk. So I pull back there, and the guy's like, he was an older guy, kind of hesitant. And once he found out I was like a pastor, we started like, it wasn't even talking about hunting. It was like talking about like church stuff and just life and everything. And he's like, my kids hunt, my grandkids hunt, like they've gotten turkeys and stuff, and one of them's still trying to get a turkey. And he's like, you know what? You're only here for a few days. And I was like, yeah, but if I don't find a place, I'm just going to go home. And I was like, and that guy over there said I could hunt, so I'm going to just try it, and he's like, I'll tell you what, you can hunt here. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He goes, and I was like, well, I'll park over there and I'll just, and I'll just wander through. And he's like, we got nice trails throughout there. And he goes, there's turkeys out there every night. And he's like, go out and get you a turkey. And I was like, perfect, So I called my wife and I was like, hey, I'm gonna get the Airbnb. I'm gonna get my license and stuff. And I was like, I found like 140 acres to hunt. And I was like, you think I should go anywhere else and ask? I'm like, because I'm not gonna hunt today. Like, you think I should? And she's like, well, you have 140 acres. You'll be good. And I was like, I'm just gonna stop one more place. And something told me, it was like the Lord was speaking to me, to go to this one farm. And it was like, it wasn't like on my way to the Airbnb or the city or like wanting to get food and stuff. It was like like out of my way. And so I go out there, and there's, he's got like a big farmhouse and just a big farm, and I'm just going out there, and I pull up, and he comes to the door, and he's just a farmer guy, and I was like, how you doing, sir? We start talking, and he's like, well, I got 4 turkey gunners already out here, and I was like, we just started talking, and he's like, I like your shirt, and we started talking about like Jesus, and he's like, I like you, and he's like, you're from Ohio, and I was like, yeah, and I was telling him stuff, and he's like, you know what? Get in the side by side.
Nice.
And I was like, really? And he's like, he goes, yeah. And so I get in the side by side. And he's like, I own this land over here. He takes me across the street. And then he's like, we go down the road, and he takes me to another property. He's like, where they always see turkeys at. And we get back, and I was like, and I would have just been, I knew that there was turkeys across the street from his house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just too big and too like, and he's like, man, I'm surprised we didn't see him back here. You just know that there's, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but based on driving around, like, I knew there was turkeys around, So he's like, get in the truck. And what's interesting is, like I tell you, I just prayed that the Lord would use me in some way, right? Well, that guy wanted me to talk to somebody he was trying to help. Like, it was a younger girl, in her family situation. She had kids and stuff, and she didn't know the Lord yet. And he's like, and I told him my whole life, like my testimony of my life, like being addicted. Like, I was addicted to meth, like for 5 years, dude.
Wow.
And I sold drugs really like hard. Like, I was a bad person, dude. So like, coming to like people to hear that, like, that's something that like, but it was Jesus that healed me. Like, my life, giving my life to Jesus is what changed my life. And I don't care what people say, and you can argue anybody about anything about the Bible. You can argue me like a theology, but you can't argue about what Jesus did in my life. That's something that you cannot argue with me, and I can share that with people. Whether you take it and run with it, that's up to you.
Sure.
But he really is like, she needs someone to talk to like you, and I knew right then and there, like, that's why I was supposed to be there. Like,
that's incredible.
You know what I'm saying? And he's like, I'm gonna, and so he's like, get in the truck, and we're driving around, and he's like, he calls his brother, and he's like, hey, I got this guy here from Ohio, and he wants to shoot a turkey. And his brother's like, well, I was just mowing over there at this place, and I saw him. And he's like, all right, he's like, well, I'm gonna call her and tell him he's coming out there. So as he's on the phone with the landowner, because he leases like her property, he's like, I got a guy from Ohio, he's gonna come kill those turkeys. And she's like, all right. And she's like, tell him to pull on back there. So we start driving past these barns on her property, and we get to like these hay fields or whatever they are over there. And it's 6:00 at night. So I got there at this guy's house at 2:30. I spent like 4.5 hours with him, right? And again, I can look at it and say, like, this was like the Lord's doing, right? And people might be like, well, that happens to me. I don't even know the Lord. Okay, well, I'm only telling you my experience.
Sure.
Find the Lord and see what happens in your life. And so as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill those birds, like one of those birds, because she owns these big fields. There's a 16-acre patch of woods. Then he owns like the 300-acre field on the backside. So there's no woods around. That's the only woods.
That's where they're gonna be.
It's 6:30 at night. I'm like, and I told him, I'm like, listen, I'll be done first thing in the morning. And he's like, well, we'll see about like, and I'm thinking like, what kind of turkey hunters you got here, bro? You just took me to this field, and there were 5 toms.
Wow.
Like, they were all, full fan birds. And I'm like, oh, that's a dead one. Well, in Michigan, when I'm on the app, Ohio tells you sunrise time. Mm-hmm. So it's a half hour before sunrise time, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the Michigan app tells you the shooting time. Mm-hmm. So I'm waking up early at the Airbnb. I told the lady I'm in that field like an hour and 40 minutes before. I'm like, dude, I get to that field. I'm like, man, it's really dark. And I only have like a 10-minute walk. You know what I'm saying? I'm like looking at my phone. I'm like, dude, it's really dark. And I thought shooting time was like 5:15, right? So I'm like there at like 4:15, like gonna get set up and like all, and because I didn't walk back in that hayfield, like I didn't know what the woods is like. I can only see it from 200 or 300 yards away. Well, I'm looking at my phone. It's 5:15. I'm like, bro, it's dark. I'm like, and I look at the app. It's like 5:46 is shooting time. I'm like, dude. So like I'm just kind of like looking at the time. Well, I get close to the wood line and I just do some soft tree yelps, right? And I don't hear nothing. And I'm like, what? Like where did they go? Well, it gets about to 5:46, and I just hit some soft tree yelps, just some real ones, and all of a sudden, it is like 4th of July in those woods, dude. And it's awesome. Just like, and I mean, they're just gobbling. And so it's getting light enough to where like now I can start seeing. Well, where I was at and where those turkeys were, the wood line goes up in a little embankment, okay? And then it drops down into like this grassy creek bottom. And I was like, where am I going to sit at? Like I don't even know where to sit. And these turkeys are gobbling like right above my head, it seems like. So what every turkey hunter doesn't do, I move further away from the birds, okay, to try to set up on them. So I'm calling and they're gobbling and I'm just soft, like I'm doing soft, and I'm just like, like hit my hand on my thing, right? And it's like all of a sudden I just hear a hen, then another hen, and then I heard 3 different hens. And I was like, where, like this isn't, like I'm just thinking like one of these birds is got to be a single, right? Yeah. Like he's got to not have a lady. Well, all those hens took those birds out to his big field. And I'm like, and literally I was calling at those birds from 6 o'clock. It wasn't like, hard rapid stuff, but I shot my bird at 8:22, but it was like, like I would like yelp and like cut real hard. And I would those birds would just be firing off, and I would wait 40 minutes. Then I would get them again and they would sound a little closer. Then they would sound a little closer. Well, I'm calling and I'm moving because I knew there was a lot of birds, like I didn't want to bump birds, you know what I'm saying? So like I'm kind of staying in a spot, and I could hear them move, like working their way towards me, but they're just real quiet, like they would gobble, but they were like they would just gobble and then they would just be stationary, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna shut up, So I start like just cutting hard, and every time I started cutting hard, the birds would get closer. And I was like, well, okay, whatever's going on, like it's working. Well, I see 2 toms like hit the tree line, and I see them fanned up, right? And I'm like, oh, this is it. So I just start soft calling, dude, just real soft on my pot call, and my slate, and they're gobbling and they're strutting, just full strut. But they're kind of like move, like dancing around, and I'm like, what are they doing? Because I can't see much, and I would just shut up, but they were just still fanned up. Well, eventually I saw a hen, just one hen with 2 toms, Then all of a sudden, like 15 jakes just come running through the woods, dude. I'm talking like just beelining it right to where these birds are at. And those 2 toms got like real mad, and they just were like kind of chasing them. So I'm staring at these 2 toms, and there's just big trees in my way, and I'm just staring at them, kind of calling. There's 15 jakes that are just hanging out to my left, maybe within 20 to 30 yards. They're so comfortable. They're just like preening themselves. They're just messing around. They're just all hanging out. And those 2 toms were just dancing kind of like with that hen, And I wasn't like calling. I just wanted to play it out, because I didn't want those jakes to. You gotta remember, that's 30 eyeballs.
Yeah.
Now, if any of those birds putt, all of them are gone. So I'm just like stuck, and some of those jakes would try to come by the hen, and those toms would get mad. Then they kind of like stayed off to their side, and those two toms were just kind of like dancing, strutting around. And there was one of them that was always close to her. And when the other one would get kind of close, he would just kind of peck at him or knock him away. And as soon as that one stepped out in that line, I just laid him out. And I was like, dude, he was a big bird, but like it worked, you know what I'm saying? But like, again, as soon as I shot that bird, I called the landowner. He's like, hey, that lady's here. Would you like to come over? I was like, of course I would. And I wound up spending like 3 or 4 hours with them, even after my hunt, when I could have just went home. But it was me talking about my life and what Jesus did in my life to someone who doesn't know him.
The harvesting of that turkey is so cool, but everything else you shared in that experience is 20, 30 years down the road, what you're going to remember, what he's going to remember, what she's going to remember. The turkey was a cool part of it, but it's that whole story that's just incredible and special.
Correct. I could have been happy with the 140 acres. That guy wound up owning and farming 2,500 acres. So now I have a place that I could go to for as long as he's ever alive and owns the properties. And it was just because I was being like led by what God was guiding me in my spirit. And that is like what I want to share with people is like, if you don't know God, like, dude, contact me. Like, I'll talk to you about Jesus in a non-religious way. Like, because it's not about that. Like, Jesus never called us to be religious. He called us to be followers of him. And that's why I say it's a personal relationship with Jesus. Like, if you believe that, in God, you have to believe in the Bible. You don't get to just pick and choose. Like, I was one of those guys that was like, the God knows my heart, but I'm still going to sleep with my wife outside of marriage. Like, because we weren't fully pursuing Jesus. Like, we were like, oh, God knows our heart. God knows our heart. You know how many people live like that? God knows my heart. I'm a good person. Being a good person doesn't get you to heaven, bud. It doesn't. I'm sorry. You can listen to what a lot of people say, but there's nowhere in the Bible that says being a good person gets you to heaven. He says, I am the truth, the way, and the life. Like, no one gets to the Father but through me. Let Jesus fix your life. Be in relationship with him. I promise you, if you humble yourself saying, like, I cannot do this on my own, and I want to partner with him, your life life's not easy, but it will be better. And it gets better each and every day. And when something comes against you, whatever it may be, medical stuff, family stuff, work stuff, whatever it is, he gives you the tools to be able to just work through life like that. That's why when I go out and walk 20 miles expecting to find 20 sheds and I only find one that's chewed up from 5 years ago, I'm okay with it. Yep. Before I used to get so annoyed. There's all these idiots, walking, they walk 4 miles and they find these big ones, like, why don't I get, you know what I'm saying? I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it. Like when people shoot big deer and I don't shoot big deer, cool, man. Good for you, brother. It is what it is, But it's like I have that sense of peace, that knowing that the Lord is going to bless me. When I said the God, He's provider, man. He will provide for you. Like, and we didn't get into the conversation on the phone, but like that's why I asked you before that. Like, I don't know if you're a Christian, like if you're, and I don't even like saying the word Christian. It's just easier for me to say that with people. When people ask me what I am, I'm a follower of Jesus. Okay. The word Christian is so widely used in our culture, right? Because in the New Testament, it was used like 3 or 4 times, and it was used in a derogatory term, right? We are disciples, which are apprentices of Jesus, and that's what we're called to be, right? And when we're given this free gift of salvation, this love, it's the greatest love story the world's ever seen and ever heard. When we're given that, we are to go out and share that with the world, and however that looks like in your life. And that's where that obedience comes from. And that's where and I don't even like using the word sacrifice, because I enjoy what I do. And that's why I said, like, you don't have, like I told the Lord, like, whatever he does in my life, like, I'm okay with not hunting every day, and because I know that he's going to bless me when I do go. You know what I'm saying? With whatever it is. Like, not everyone has to experience the things I went through. Like, not everyone has to become a pastor or a minister. The Lord will use you with who you are today. He'll shape and grow you for the rest of your life. Where you're working today, he's going to close doors that you think are important. He's going to open ones that you don't even realize. But it's just giving yourself to him and saying, like, Lord, the way that I've been living my life, I can't live it anymore. And that's it. It's real simple, but we make it so hard. And my grandma's always taught me my whole life. She said, everybody wants a savior, but nobody wants a Lord. And that's the difference when you're pursuing Jesus, is everybody wants the coattails to go into heaven, but nobody wants to make him the king of his life. We always want to be the Lord of our own lives and do the things we want to do. And we want to justify all that stuff. And it can go into hunting. It can go into the way we treat. When you're hunting, you have all those selfish intentions, like, I'm not doing this with that, like, I'm not taking this person there, or I'm not giving this person advice, because it's out of your own greed, right? Your own pride, right? The Lord strips all that away if you truly are in him. There's a big difference.
Sure.
But I promise you, you'll look back on the old you and be like, man, I've come a long way. Pursue him for a year and look at the difference. And the people who are around you every single day will notice a difference. And that's where your ministry's at. That's the people that you disciple to. Those are the people. And that's why when I go out and I go on these hunts and I'm planning these future hunts, I don't get worried if I'm going to kill something. I already know that it's like I have a sense of peace, like knowing that the Lord's going to bless me. And it's not that like, oh, I better do this or else I'm not going to get, or else he's not going to bless me. No.
You can't bargain with him.
No, because I'm being obedient in so many other ways in my life that, like, when I go out on these road trips and I do all this stuff, I just ask the Lord to show me or reveal something to me, like teach me something, like just whatever, use me out on the road, use me however you need me to be used. And it's not that saying like, oh, I got to do this stuff in order to be blessed, no. This is part of, like, I have a passion for this. Let him change your passions, And that's why I'll talk to anybody now. Like, I don't care who you are, what you look like. I don't care how you treat me. I'm going to treat you the same, And that is where you get rewarded at. Like, he rewards his children. We're sons and daughters of the Most High. He will reward that. And however that looks, Maybe you could be on public land hunting and you may not have seen something that day, but he avoided you from getting in an accident. And you may not even realize it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And so when you wake up the next day, that's a blessing.
Yep.
That's a gift. That's what we should be thankful for.
I think that, Ricky, is a great way to tie a bow on this. That was awesome. I can't thank you enough for sharing your testimony and talking about Jesus and everything in between. I had a great time getting to know you, and we're going to have to do a part 2 because, number one, I want to hear more of this, and I also want to hear the results of your turkey DNA.
So, like, she said it was like 3 weeks ago. She said about 8 to 10 weeks, and I've been looking every day on my email.
Okay.
So, like,
in case it's sooner.
Once I get it. And what's cool is, like, it's ran through Ducks Unlimited, which is interesting because it's like at a university in Texas. So, but on the app that they like send you to go to, it gives you a breakdown of like all the genetic reporting and how it should be read and understood. So, like, we can go over all that. But, like, I'll send you the pictures of that bird, and like I said, if people, like, I'm private on Instagram just because, like, there's a lot of stuff in this world and people steal stuff and pictures and whatever it is. I'll have you, like, put a link to my name, and dude, if anybody ever has questions, do anything, any kind of questions, anything that's going on in your life, and I'm a stranger to you, talk to me, dude. I don't judge. I'll just give you godly advice and godly wisdom for the things that I've been in my life, and I would love to do that.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll add that in there. And then what's the name of your church?
It's called Revive.
Revive?
Yep,
Perfect.
It's in Medina. So,
well, thank you again, man.
Yeah.
And I'm already looking forward to the next one.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Ricky.
Yep.